good afternoon, and blessings. Praise the Lord. I tell you, I'm so always thankful for this opportunity. I count it a blessing that we can come on and talk about, give some information, some knowledge, true knowledge, lest we perish for lack of it, right?
That's right.
And that's Hosea 4:6, you know. But I just want to right now thank my crew for helping me put this show together. That's Sheila and Lula and Juanita and Alwa, Elijah, and Chastity. She's only 8 years old, but she gets on some time and does the advertisement for
That's
me.
beautiful.
Yeah, right? I'm just so happy today. This is, I tell you, 1 month ago, we were looking through different lenses.
That's right.
The world was a little cloudy. So it was kind of scary. I checked my passport and my bank account. Well, my passport was valid, but my bank account didn't look too good. But oh, what a difference a day make. Maybe 2 weeks to be specific. However, we as black people still got a long way to go now. But at least we might miss having the noose around our neck. I'm so proud of my Vice President, Kamala Harris. She's not perfect now. But last I checked, neither was I. That's why I'm so excited today with the guest we have for you. Senator Brittany Timberlake, a young black woman who's on the same trajectory as Vice President Kamala Harris. So watch out. You might just be looking at our second black female president one day. Now, do we have our guest on yet? It's not on yet. Well, we're looking so forward to having her on because we're going to be talking politics today.
Yes,
This young lady, I read her bio, and she is heavy. She's doing so much for our community of New Jersey. The bills she has passed at such a young age, you will be just flabbergasted. And but in the meantime, till she comes on, we're going to talk about the politics of what's happening now.
Yes, yes, yes.
I am so excited. And my co-host here, Professor Terry Benjamin.
Hey, everybody.
And I didn't recognize my engineer, Norm, but I'm just so elated about what's happening and what's going on.
Two good
right
men,
now.
2 good men.
Right, yeah, to kings, right?
Yes.
We did
Even-
say when we
even
greet
better.
each other from here on, we're going to be king,
Kings and
queen,
queens, yes.
prince, princess,
That's right.
the whole 9 yards, because that's really who we are.
We are.
And, of course, you all know me. I'm your unapologetic amateur, still looking for experts in Africanism.
Yes.
I am Ruby Williams Shivers, and we come on each week to share the knowledge that we have. We try to bring on guests who will help us bring the knowledge that we need, and we do need knowledge. When I think about us and how what we've been through, so uniquely different from what anyone else has been through.
Yes.
But we have not yet seemed to have got it into any perspective. When I say we, many of us have. We have experts out there. That's why I'm trying to get them together, coalesced around an idea that we need special people. We need folks who, like with the virus, I'm always using analogies. If you wouldn't expect anyone other than specialties to come in and tell you something about the virus.
That's right.
Well,
That's
what
right.
we went through over 200 years,
Yes, yeah.
not talking about the last 200 of racism,
no,
Jim
no.
Crowism, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But what we went through for the first 200, we need specialty
That's
to
right.
come and unravel some of the stuff that's going on in our
Experts,
brain.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to always look at each other with a pointed finger and say, well, you're not doing this because of this. You're not doing it because it's your fault.
That's right.
Nothing is our fault. We are coming from a perspective that no one else in the annals of history can even read about anyone else having come through what we have come through and still going through, as a matter of fact.
As it is.
I mean, if you don't understand that, when I came on and introduced and I said that we missed the news, we may not have missed the news. We're hoping that if Vice President Kamala Harris, the presumptive nominee for the presidency.
That's right.
If she wins, we may have dodged a bullet. But if she doesn't win and that other man gets in, I don't even want to call his name. But if he gets in, we're going to have some stuff ahead of us. And it's not going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
If we didn't stop it before it's happening, it's going to be harder to even get a hold on it.
That's true.
Once he gets in.
That's true. And the thing is that he had a little time to put his plan together.
Yeah.
Now he's sort of disavowed.
2025, they've had a long
He
time
keep
to put
trying
that together.
To keep a distance from that, but that's his platform.
That's his platform.
Really.
And they started that years ago. They created the Heritage
The Heritage Foundation. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And so they got it real on the wrap, and we just someone unveiled it, and now they're trying to back away from it, but it is. And Joy Reid, she had an explanation. She went through it last week.
Yes.
Yeah, so we will be able to understand it, because I understand it's a 900-page
over 900 pages.
document,
Yeah.
one that you would probably not ever think to try to read. I know I wouldn't. So it was so educational and encouraging that she would go through it for us.
That's right.
And for those of you who don't know, all you need to know is that since we won't read the whole thing. All you need to know, it will take you back years.
That's the point.
I
That's the
see
point.
that we have
All right.
our fabulous guest on, and as I said before, she is a senator. She has a very impressive resume.
That's right.
We were talking about Pamela Harris. Pamela Harris. What we're saying about her is that everything is so exciting right now, because less than a month ago, matter of fact, 2 weeks ago,
Yeah, it was all a different picture.
it was a whole different picture. The world was like cloudy.
That's right.
But then now we can breathe a little bit. We kind of miss the noose around our neck, or we think we have. We're on the road to missing the noose, but if we're not careful, we are going to get back into some situation that we haven't seen in years.
That's true. That's true.
So I'm just so happy to have the guest that we have on today. And before the question began, we're going to want to hear your take on the present state of our politics by way of our presumptive nominee. It's weird, and if you got something to say it to my face. What say you?
And let me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it so much, Miss Ruby. I've heard so much about you.
Yeah.
I want to shout out Miss Jerry Coles, who is an amazing community person and a legend within her own right, and I'm just happy to know her.
Yes.
And it's so good to see you too, sir. Very, very good to be on.
My co-host Terry Benjamin. Well, I tell you, I'm going to abbreviate this bio because it's extensive, and you've done
Very
so
impressive,
much.
very
impressive.
Thank you.
And we will ask you questions about it. Now, Senator Brittany N. Timberlake was sworn in to serve as the youngest ever senator in the history of the state of New Jersey. She represents the 34th Legislative District. Mm-hmm. She has sponsored numerous bills that she will tell us about. In January 2019, she sponsored a bill requiring the New Jersey Attorney General to handle the investigation and prosecution of a crime in the event a person loses one life during an interaction with or while in the custody of law enforcement. In 2018, she called for a prohibition on the sale of certain toy guns and imitation of firearms. Senator Timberlake was responsible for a host of bills that were signed into law to combat health disparity amongst our female community. She's no stranger to public service. From 2015 to 2017, she served as president of the Essex County Board of Freeholders. She is truly a pure public servant. Welcome, welcome.
Welcome.
Now, my
Thank you,
first
Miss Ruby.
You're welcome. My first question is, you are so young. How did all this start? What motivated you?
Well, what motivates me is getting involved and actually doing something about systemic issues. Systemic issues around whether or not it's poverty, whether or not it is climate, women's rights, all of these things. Criminal justice reform and like what we did with that bill, 83115, you never forget the number of your first bill,
Right.
which was that independent investigation in the event someone loses their life during interaction with law enforcement.
Okay.
So, and that was a very pivotal moment. And that law was life changing because it only passed a Democratic majority by one vote.
Wow.
And then we had to plea and beg and get the signature of the governor in order to make it happen. And I'm grateful that we actually were successful in that. And that was about a year or two before the unfortunate death of George Floyd.
Okay.
So this wasn't in the era that we're in now, that it seems to be that we're in now, where people seem to be slightly more sensitive to the issues that our people have experienced over the years. And so that's what drives me. But you asked me about national issues too. And I'm in support of Kamala Harris.
All right.
And we have got to get to those polls. I heard you talking a little bit. I think you might have been talking about the Project 25 document
yes.
when I joined, because I have actually read through it.
And
I will tell you that what they're talking about is dismantling a part of the government to where there is just clear executive power across the board and everyone carries out the mission of the president in general. That means that they're going to be attacking union workers as well, to take away those union rights, and really create their own form of government.
Right.
They have quite a few things in there centering women and what their ideals and values are. But at the end of the day, folk, what you have is a Supreme Court Justice, Sam Alito, who is flying the American flag upside down.
Oh, yes, he was.
And he's doing this in support of they called them the insurrectionists of January 6th. I call them the people who tried to lead a coup d'etat.
Oh, yes.
To take over the government. That's what it was.
That's what they were.
That's what it was.
Insurrectionist to me is not a strong enough word.
And the intent is to do it the next time.
Correct.
And with the 2025, they will get it done if he gets it.
They will get it done. That was just the first attempt. And New Jersey, stand up. Because of that coup d'etat, we lost our very own Brian Sicknick, who was a New Jersey resident, unfortunately, because he was killed. And he's a person who actually serves in foreign wars for our country, and only to be killed by a domestic mob here in the United States trying to overthrow the government through a coup. So, this Donald Trump has said that if he is elected president, that he will be a dictator, even when he jokes and he says, oh, just on the first day. That's not a funny joke.
No, it's not a joke at all. He said that, believe him. But Maya Angelou say once, if somebody tell you something,
believe
it.
When someone show you who they are, believe them. That's right.
Yep.
And he has showed us who he is time and time again. And it is a scary showing of who he is.
Yeah.
He's a convicted felon. He has been talked about by women who have been raped.
Yeah.
That's right.
By him. Like, it is just absolutely unbelievable that we're even sitting here talking about a candidate who has secured the Republican nomination for president who has been so incredibly disgusting in his behavior.
Terrible.
And it's disgraceful, actually.
It is.
I work across the aisle. A lot of my bills are actually bipartisan.
Okay. Now, what district do you represent?
I represent East Orange, Bloomfield, Belleville, Nutley, and Glenridge.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
And it's District 34. And it previously the district where the great Lieutenant Governor Sheila Y. Oliver
Oh,
hailed
yes.
from,
Mhm.
which 4 days ago marked her 1 year
Right.
anniversary that she had no longer been with us on this earth. And
Great lady. Friend of Jerry's too, right? Well, Jerry worked for
yes,
her.
she
Yes.
was she was a friend of Jerry's, and
Uh-huh.
she's a mentor, a friend, and a sponsor to me. And I'm very
Okay.
grateful for her.
Right.
But
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
and if she were here, I remember her and I went and met Kamala together
Okay.
at the tarmac before her plane pulled off. And when let me correct my language. When Vice President Harris
Yes,
Right.
yes.
saw our Lieutenant Governor Sheila Y. Oliver, she said, "Hey, girl, I thought that was you." And I just
Yes,
love
sir.
that
Yes, sir.
because
Well,
Lieutenant Governor resonated even throughout the nation,
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I can foresee someone else. I just said before you came on, I certainly can see someone else filling those shoes. You are doing so much. You have been so young and doing so much. You're the first this and the first that. I want you to tell us about yourself. I want you to tell what committees do you serve. And it's
Sure.
mm-hmm,
I sit on the Transportation Committee as well as the Economic Growth.
mm-hmm,
Previously, I was the chairperson of the Commerce and Economic Development in the Assembly,
mm-hmm.
and that was when I just got sworn into the Senate actually in January from the New Jersey State Assembly.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a mom.
Okay. That's
I
always good.
am.
Yes, always good.
Yeah.
Always good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I have 4 boys that live under our home, under our roof.
Okay.
One that's 17. We're a blended family.
Okay.
And then my husband and I have 3 babies, all under the age of 6.
Oh my goodness!
We
Wow.
got a
Yeah,
handful,
when I was
see.
sworn into the assembly, I was 9 months pregnant,
Okay.
and yeah, so I that's my favorite part of my life is my family, my husband. He's a Newark firefighter,
Okay.
and it's
And
always we
take our
put
hat off to
God,
those
then
because
family,
oh my goodness, they put their
then
lives on the
everything
line.
else after that.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Now you
It's
sponsored numerous bills. Tell us about them and what you got going presently.
So, $15 an hour minimum wage.
Mhm.
That was a bill that I was very active on getting passed,
Mhm.
and it is now law. We know that $15 is still technically not enough
That's
Right.
No.
to live on. So we have some more work to do,
Yes.
but I'm very proud that that was one of my pieces of legislation, as well as COVID protections for housing. Actually, housing protections when COVID happened is the way I
Okay.
should phrase it.
Yeah.
So to make sure that people didn't lose their homes, whether or not they were homeowners, landlords, or renters,
Okay.
that they had an opportunity to save their homes during COVID or keep their homes, keep a roof over their head.
Yes.
That was one of my pieces of legislation, and so many more.
I know.
We're
I
working
see-
on. Yeah,
I'm sorry,
we
yeah.
have the Community Wealth Preservation Program. If
Okay.
anyone is facing foreclosure, or if you know someone who is, contact my office so you can learn how to use the Community Wealth Preservation Program. We rewrote the entire foreclosure system, and we
Okay.
built equity into it. And it used to be that in order to compete in a sale, you needed 20% and the rest of the money due in 30 days, which meant you knew somebody who had access to cash or deep pockets yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Now this bill makes it so all you need is 3.5% down
Oh,
and the rest
okay.
of the money due in 90 business days, which gives you room for financing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's a really big bill. It helps out the homeowner, a homeowner's next of kin, if they have a tenant, or if there's a nonprofit organization that wants to create affordable housing, or if there's someone who wants to live in the community and commits to living there for up to 7 years.
Wow.
It's a very creative bill. Right now, I have a gang of people, unfortunately, who are being resistant to change that do not want to implement the bill, and they're trying to overturn it. But it's a bill that builds in equity and helps preserve the wealth of the community. So that's one of my
how does one
my
get in
most
touch
precious
with you?
pieces of legislation that we're going to continue hammering away on, and we're teaching the community how to use it.
Great. Now, how does one get in touch with you, Yusan?
So if you email SEN Timberlake at njleg.org.
Okay. All
You can
right.
you can email our office and ask about the Community Wealth Preservation Program. And our phone number is 973-395-1166.
Okay.
973-395-1166. You say, hey, I'm in foreclosure. I need to know about this wealth bill. And we would be happy to walk you through to see if it's something that you can use at the time of foreclosure sale to actually save your property.
Excellent.
That's
Now,
great.
there's another bill that I'm impressed that you passed. The 2019 bill was a response to the unfortunate death of Tamir Rice. Yes, that's
Yeah.
impressive. How do
Yeah, that's making sure that the children are not purchasing guns that look real.
Right.
So all of the toy guns have to look like toys, neon colored, so on and so forth. Just to try to keep that type of tragedy from happening again. Now we know that the greater issue also was the officer who responded.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the greater issue.
Yes.
But that was just a small way in which we're also trying to address the situation. We are addressing the issue at large, and we did that with A3115, which was requiring an independent investigation in the event someone loses their life during interaction with law enforcement, which is what I was telling you about before. And then also there's been numerous bills centered around training for officers, banning the carotid artery chokehold, which was what unfortunately George Floyd was put in. And we've been hammering away and doing the work. The Legislative Black Caucus, which is made up of both assembly members of the state as well as the Senate, have been very active with these things.
All right.
Beautiful.
All right, Terry, you have something?
Yeah, I got my biggest question. I really want to congratulate you because you seem to be a person who is concerned about offering service to the people that you govern. I think one of the problems now in government right now is we have people in Congress who are there to serve themselves, not to serve the people. And my question to you is, where did that come from in your own background? The
motivation.
The motivation to serve, to be a service to the people.
Yeah.
Did it come from your parents, from your schooling, or what?
For sure. So I grew up in a service-oriented household. Okay, so my dad is an Army paratrooper. He's an 82nd Airborne Sergeant First Class, jumps out of airplanes into war, can train to be anywhere in the world in 18 hours. And he stood on the Berlin Wall.
Okay.
He led troops across the desert and was there when Saddam lit the oil fields on fire in Desert Storm.
Okay.
And he stood on the border of North and South Korea, all to protect our democracy.
Yes.
So I think the understanding of service starts there, but also the love of our country, as well as protecting the democracy, also really stems from there too. Now, my mom, she would find work every duty station that my dad would be at, and she would always educate mentally and physically challenged. But there was one time when we lived in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and there was actually the town next to us, Hope Mills. Hope Mills had a park that my family and I used to frequent. My mom would pack us picnics. We would go there and we would eat. We would play around the lake. And it was really very fun times. And my mother opened up the paper and she saw that the Klan was going to be marching through. My mother is a Caucasian woman. My father is African American.
Okay.
And she immediately started. She got the yellow pages and she went through and she found the churches and other organizations that may be against that type of hate message. And she would call them, inform them that they were going to be marching, and ask them if they would attend for a peaceful protest, and that there should be more people out there in support of love and standing against hate. So that's what she did. And I got to tell you, I was in the 3rd grade and she brought me with her. And that was one of the most pivotal times in my life that really set me on a trajectory, because I always wanted to be of service, but then to see what happens when you stand up against a system of hatred and an organization of hatred, and what you can do with the community when you have the power. And on that day, I remember they marched down the street. I remember their chant. I remember it all like it was yesterday. I could tell you even the smells in the air that day.
Yeah, it
That's
never
how
leaves you, yeah.
awakened I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
by that experience. And she boldly stood there. They actually, said some words to her because she was there with her Black children.
Yeah.
And she said some words back to them.
Right.
And that was incredibly inspiring to see my mother behave in that courageous way. And
Right.
if I could see that those are the things that really propelled me into service, that of course my faith as well.
Of course.
I wouldn't be living up to what God has for me to do if I got into these positions and only serve self.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
That makes no sense. We have the power of the pen. We have the power to legislate. We have the
Yeah.
power
Yes,
to
we do.
write
That's right.
the law or to rewrite the law, to take out things that should not be, to rewrite systems of oppression. And if we're not doing that, then we don't have any business being in public office. But this is what I'll say to the voters.
Yes, please.
You got to look at the record. Stop just voting for people because, somebody said so, or, you read one little thing. Look at the record of a person. Do your deep research
Yes, yes.
and then cast your vote.
Right.
I've always said that.
Yeah.
Always said that. And if the record isn't in line with your thoughts and philosophies, then don't do it. And if you have time, take a deep dive.
Right.
Because sometimes some things are just headlines.
That's right.
And then when you read the legislation, you find that it's really was a lot of fluff.
Right. Well, at least my folks
That's a good point.
get confused out there. What you mean? In this case, just know you better vote the way that's going to be of your interest.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
And once we do that this time, because this time is so serious that you're going to either go out of the way, you're going to go back 50 years plus, or you can move forward. But
That's
you're
correct.
correct. From here on, you look at to see what people are doing for you. But right now, at least we get my people confused because some of them are saying, particularly the younger one, well, I don't see what he's done for me. No, it's what you can do for yourself at this point.
Yeah.
You
When
fight
you're
your
talking
way
about the
to-
presidential vote now, right?
Right.
That's right. Yeah.
No, but listen, there's nothing to be confused over that now.
Right.
Because I said, look at the record. Now, Biden and Kamala Harris, Biden's record is Kamala Harris's record. Remember
Exactly.
student loan debt relief?
Yes.
Remember women's rights? That should be a
Yeah,
thing.
Yes.
Remember the CHIP Act, which
Yeah.
was bringing manufacturing back here to the United States with emphasis on climate manufacturing.
Yes.
And my dear friend, God rest his soul, Congressman Donald Payne Jr. was a prime author of was a main author of the bipartisan infrastructure bill. And Kamala Harris was in the mix for all of that.
Right.
But also because of what I told you about democracy and about dictatorship.
Yeah.
Listen, a lot of people, I think, when we say the word dictator, maybe they don't know what it means.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't understand.
Yeah.
And to be clear, a dictator is a person who you have to do exactly what they say.
That's right.
There's usually no room to criticize them.
Right.
So even speaking the way in which I'm speaking, I could be arrested.
Right.
That's what a
Right.
dictator,
Yeah.
under a dictatorship, that's what it would be.
Yes.
And they're not usually above disappearing people.
Often they do that.
Stances.
And they're
And
not
they take away rights, and
Exactly.
it is a terrible thing. I told you, my dad stood and fought for the democracy and the freedom in at least 3 places.
Yeah.
And one of them, that Berlin Wall, was there, and he was there to keep the peace by the remnants of the ideology that existed with Hitler and Stalin.
Yes.
Yes.
So we have to be very, very careful.
Yeah.
So when people say, well, what have they done for me? Here's another justice. I told you about Sam Alito flying the flag upside down.
Yeah.
Clarence Thomas.
Oh my
Oh,
word.
please.
Justice
My word.
Clarence Thomas. He has already taken a shot at Brown versus Board of Education.
That's right.
Yes, he has.
So the Brown versus Board of Education is a monumental case that integrated the school systems.
Mhm.
So by him writing in an official document his concerns about Brown versus Board of Education, to me, I can only take it one way, that could be the next thing that they're going to target. They already got rid of
Definitely.
affirmative action.
That's right,
Already.
yes.
And
So
I'm going to
people-
ask you
yeah.
about reparation. That's my next question to you because I would declare that when we look at DEI, affirmative action, and all those other things that they throw, at us that as though we are begging for something, we are deserving of anything that we get.
Yeah, yeah.
But reparation, I feel, is the elephant in the room that will clear all that nonsense up.
Yeah,
If we had reparation, we wouldn't even need the affirmative action. And if we got it, it was just like, I understand that the persons who benefited mostly by that was white women. And they had a reason to say, okay, I need affirmative action because this, that, or the other.
Right,
Same way with the or anything else that we find ourselves in need of and decide that we need to get, and other folks can come in and declare they need it also. Well, that's why I declare ourselves. I say I'm an unapologetic amateur looking for experts in Africanism, because until we understand our situation so uniquely different from anyone else's, we won't let anyone else make the comparison that they are in the same need that we are in. No confusion. Right. With reparation, now I understand it's supposed to be, in order for us to get reparation in the state of New Jersey, they want to change the name to, what is that, equal parity or something. Or change the name. The idea is to change the name. Well, why change the name? Because if you change the name, the same as with affirmative action, there's going to be someone who will come in and say, okay, I'm deserving of that because this happened to me. But if you keep it to reparation, we'll know that you're talking about 200 years of something that has happened to no other human being in the annals of history.
That's
nowhere. Even in biblical, you can't read what Moses went through that.
Yes, yes. So it's important to know that I was one of the main authors on the reparations bill.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And the bill creates a task force to study the ramifications of slavery and what happened and how we need to move forward and provide suggestions about what reparations would look like in New Jersey. The bill did get hung up over the name. Now, remember how I told you sometimes the headline, it can be something strong and then the bill be fluff? That's what I don't want to happen. There is a debate over saying the word reparations. And I have to tell you, Miss Ruby, I do think that I'm not married to the word. You know what I'm married to? The definition. I'm married to the definition of what reparations will mean. So, and they can specify that it's for African Americans who have had, and you can trace your lineage to different plantations in the South. Like my grandmother came from Durham, North Carolina plantation. My grandfather on my dad's side came from Mobile, Alabama. And can you trace these things? Can you prove these things, right? And I think as long as we specify that in the bill, I don't want us to hold it up because we are arguing over a name. I want us to call it whatever we're going to call it, and then make sure that the proper definitions are in there, and make sure that it is only for, as mentioned, people who are descendants of African American slaves here in this country. And I will say too that we have spent now since 2019 talking about reparations in the state of New Jersey, and really what it is for a task force, as mentioned, to study the need, right? I have been saying to all of the advocates that we should be partnering with our colleges and our institutes that have institutes of learning, particularly around Africana studies, to do the feasibility study, to be the task force. Organize them to be the task force, and then what they come up with, then we use all of our political capital to actually get real reparations for people. So now, instead of fighting for the task force, which is what we're doing and we've been doing for years, let's use that same energy to actually fight for what the suggestions would be of that task force by making the task force external partners at the colleges.
You know what I'm confused about always, and it just bothers me? why is it that we have to be in depth about how we get our reparation? And I'm just asking the question because I haven't read a lot about how other folks have gotten their reparation. But did they have to go through all these to get reparation?
No, ma'am.
It's interesting. Ours is so obvious.
No, ma'am.
I mean, theirs may have been quite questionable.
Yeah,
But ours was very
Yeah.
obvious. And when I talk about the name, in a name, because I'm very much about renaming, redefining ourselves as slave. Because when you use the word slave, that put us all in a category of the same
Same
type
thing,
of
yeah.
definition. And our own people will say sometimes, well, African enslaved you. So we have to be careful with definition that we allow other folks to put on us.
Correct.
Back to
Correct.
reparation, I think the new name that was requested was wealth gap. You see how open that is? If you say wealth gap,
Very
there are
open.
other folks
Yeah,
that
people.
make,
Yeah.
there's other people who say
Oh,
that.
Miss Ruby, it is
because-
not lost on me.
Yeah, because
It's not lost on me what you're talking about because you
Exactly.
mentioned it in affirmative action.
Mhm.
But that's why it has to be defined very specifically. And we do have to use the term of slave when we're talking about reparations because it is for those who are the ancestors of the people who were enslaved.
Yeah.
So if that lineage can't be proven, then there should be no reparations. So even if they wanted to call it wealth gap, I would allow it as long as they put the definition for who can qualify, and it is those descendants of those who were enslaved.
You are
and
absolutely right, but
here.
we got to be careful because once we allow them to do that innocently, we'll go along with it, but they have other things in mind.
Yeah, of
And
course,
because they have a game ahead of us in most things, because I contend that in order for us to get through what we are in, and we're in something. In order for us to get through that, we're going to have three different things going with us. The faith-based person that's going to help us through God to get us out. The historian who knows the ins and out and up and down about where we started from and what happened coming over here. And the psychologist. Because without us knowing that there's something wrong with what has happened to us, and it had it impacted us in a whole lot of different ways.
Oh, yeah.
We will always continue to point fingers. I wrote a book. My
That's
first
right.
book was Verbal Healing. What it does, it talks about how we still accuse us of us. You know, we are our worst enemy. We are our crabs in the barrel. We are this, we are that. And that's good. That's natural for anyone to do that with what we went through. But until we begin to understand it, the ones of us who I call experts in Africanism, to understand that, the same as with the word slavery, genocide, or like our friends, the Jewish people. They know that they cling to the word Holocaust because that represented what they went through. And they
That's a
know
great
there was
point.
no other folks that they know that had gone.
That's a
very
great
specific.
point, Miss Ruby.
And so when we think about what we went through, we got to redefine that. Got to redefine slavery.
Yes.
And right now we can't let them define anything else for us because if they say wealth gap, I can see folks now saying, well, particularly like because like the white men of this society have created wealth gap against most people, even their women.
That's right. Yeah.
The white man have created a wealth gap from their women, so they could easily, like with affirmative action, come in and claim,
That's right.
and then it would dilute us, dilute what we need to get. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm talking about. But
I think that's very good, Miss Ruby. That's really very good.
You know what? But it's breathtaking to hear about the infant mortality rate in our community. And I know you've been doing something around there. You've just been busy, young lady.
Yeah.
So
Miss Ruby, I had an opportunity to birth in one of the best hospitals in the state of New Jersey. And I had that opportunity, one, because I had insurance.
Okay.
Two, because I had a vehicle and a car where my husband could drive me outside of the community into where that hospital was.
Okay.
Three, I had information access at my fingertips.
Yes.
Okay.
So I could use the phone or the computer to even research the way in which I birthed in the hospital that would allow me to do that. I'm into holistic natural birthing.
Okay.
And, all of these things that I had afforded to me are technically privileges that I believe should be, rights when it comes to a woman birthing.
Yeah.
So one of the bills that I'd really like to see get done this session, we've done many of them to address the infant and mortality rate of both mothers as well as babies. But one of the things I really want to see get done is a bill that I have requiring the doctor, when you go to see the doctor, when a woman is pregnant, she goes to see the doctor. The doctor have to tell her what all of her birthing options are, and then let her know, contact the insurance company, and the insurance company will let her know the various different birthing methods that they're willing to pay for. And the other thing, that's an access to information, but the other thing is, it's a crying shame that I had to travel outside of my Black and brown community to go to a upper wealthy community, predominantly white, in order to get the best care. And let me tell you, they are the best care. It was excellent there. Why don't we have that here at every single hospital?
Right.
So another bill that I'd really like to see get done this session is one that requires every hospital with a maternity ward to be something called Mommy Baby Certified, which is a designation that takes time to secure. And it talks about how to listen, how to listen better to mothers, and how to also do different things to encourage more natural bonding processes, as well as birthing experiences in a way where I'll give you an example. Some hospitals, when the baby comes out, the doctor takes the baby immediately and goes and puts them on the weight scale, this, that. There's lights, camera, action, all in the baby's face. So studies have shown that that's actually not good. You should take the baby from out of the body and put onto the mother, because skin to skin contact, it helps to regulate their body temperature, as well as it helps them to bond immediately, and then encouraging women to breastfeed, which I have a number of bills around that. It's the natural feeding process. It helps with IQ. It helps with nutrition, even in the long run, reduces the likelihood of obesity and a lot of other diseases in the long run. And it also creates a bonding experience for mommy and baby. And if those things haven't sold you on breastfeeding, then hopefully the next thing I say would, which is it's more economical. Have you seen the price of a can of powdered milk? It is a lot of money. It could be, anywhere between $30 to $50 for infant milk. But God has given us our natural milk that we can feed to the babies.
Exactly.
And it's a matter of having a lactation consultant, which also is part of Mommy Baby Certified, to visit the mother. And I have a bill that requires a mom to be visited by a lactation consultant at least twice before she leaves the hospital. Really, I'm trying to legislate all of the things that I was afforded in my privilege for all women, regardless of socioeconomic status, ethnicity, language. I want to see that for every family, to have that healthy start.
Okay. Now, I was going to ask you, you served as president of the Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders, representing District 3. Where is that, and how do you manage to do that in addition to your other assignments?
Sure. Well, that was, I finished that assignment in 2018, right before I went to the assembly. But I was there for 3 years, and I was the president for 3 years, and I represented parts of Newark, South Orange, East Orange, and Orange.
Right.
And it was wonderful. I was able to do some legislation out of that too. And we created laws, something called the Clean Jobs, which connected the need to clean up brownfields as well as to reduce the unemployment rate by training people in the very technical, lucrative field of environmentalism and environmental cleanup. We also did an affirmative action piece of legislation requiring that the county have a concerted effort to raise the amounts of contracts that are going to women-owned, veteran-owned, and minority-owned businesses. At the time, the county was performing at 0.5% of contracts for veterans, 0.4% for minorities. I'm sorry, 4%, not point, just 4%
Okay.
for minorities,
Mm-hmm.
and 7% for women.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to see those numbers to increase and to work with their small business development office in order to do that. So, these are some of the things we did. We also, I've been fighting big banks my entire career. So we had a bill that required big banks to come before us to tell us what they were doing with the communities, with the money that we're depositing with them. So me by myself at the time, with maybe $3 in my account, if I call the CEO of Wells Fargo, he's not coming out.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Why would he come talk to me? But with presiding over a budget of over $700 million,
Right.
then suddenly somebody wants to have a conversation when you start talking about disinvesting.
Right. Right.
So
right.
we put emphasis on working with people to stay in their homes to reduce their foreclosure rate. We put emphasis on community lending, as well as other questions centering how many branches they had and other things. We basically worked off of what their Community Reinvestment Act requirements are. And we built in what we believed were most important to us and pertain to our communities, especially with New Jersey leading the nation constantly within the top 3 or 5 of having the highest foreclosures in the entire nation.
Okay. So what kind of feedback do you get when you're working with your people? I mean, New Jersey is basically a Democratic state, right? Or I think it is. So do you have a lot of blowback from people when you're trying to get these bills through?
Remember when I told you, Miss Ruby, the independent investigation only passed by 1 vote and it was a Democratic majority?
Okay.
Yes.
All
So,
right.
none of this work is easy.
I
Writing
can
a law isn't
imagine.
easy. Some of the people who've come before me, they have an old joke that they like to tell. They say, 2 things you don't want to see be made, sausage and laws.
Oh.
So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of coalition building. I don't do any of this without coalitions like Housing and Community Development Network of New Jersey Citizen Action, ACLU, New Jersey Communities United. They were very helpful on the banking bill. It is coalitions, it is churches, it is clergy, it is faith in New Jersey. I am the queen of building a coalition because I know that I can't do it by myself, particularly when you're dealing with people who may or may not have the same experience as you,
Right.
to have the same lens as you, or who have the same drive,
That's
or,
key.
to do something about the problem. So coalitions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I contend that we're going to need as African people. That's my show, Unapologetic Amateur, looking for experts in Africanism. And until we understand that situation around us being uniquely different and working from that perspective, because some people just don't want to cooperate, but some people don't even know they need to cooperate, or they don't even understand the situation around what you may understand. You were down there when you say you saw those clans, and how many people may have been in a situation where they saw clans coming through.
Right.
So you had a different experience. Oh, I'm going to comment on my folks that calling in here. Sheila Bird, good afternoon, family, and welcome Senator Brittany Timberlake. Oh, yeah, we definitely welcome her. Want her back again. Robert Cavendish watching. Dina Robinson. Hi, Ruby and Terry. I'm listed. I know. Thank God for you, Dina. Dina Robinson, you had better teach Senator Brittany Timberlake. She said, you better teach. Lloyd Jarvis, her mom, and everyone. All right. I'd be so appreciative when you guys call in and check us out and see who we try to bring in. We try to bring people in that's going to give us some information that we don't readily have. They're taking all our information away from us, taking the books out of schools, so unless we be forceful in our own right to try to bring people on who we know will give us the kind of information, least we perish for lack of it, but not just any information. We're just not going for just information for information's sake. It got to be true information when it comes to this podcast, Ruby Charlie, because that's what I know that God has put me here for a reason. At this stage of my life, I didn't get up out of my bed, to come here and try to continue to fight, try to continue to get my people to know that we are not what I often say that we are very knowledgeable people. We're very educated people, But what have we have not been able to look beyond our circumstance. We see our circumstance. This is what's happening. We are the least of everything. Disproportionate in this, disproportionate in health, disproportionate in wealth, disproportionate in everything. And we blame ourselves, or we don't understand how we got to this point. That's what this show is here about, trying to bring people in every time to educate us to the uniqueness of what we went through.
Right.
It wasn't just the regular what other folks who have gone through situations.
That's right.
It's something so different. We were stripped, and when you are stripped,
Yes.
that makes the difference between us and other folk.
That's right.
Stripped of everything we knew, and once we understand and can read that we were who we were out of Africa, then we can put things in perspective. We can say, well, must be something happened. Quickly, I'm going to be bringing some young people on because I hear, Senator, that our young people are going through so much mentally,
Yeah.
and we're not,
Mental
I
health is a
never,
big thing.
myself never recognized the depth of what they're going through. But we know that unlike the older ones of us who may have known what we went through,
Yeah, it's different time.
at different times that they're not catching it. So they're going through some issues they don't even know how to explain. So I will be having folks come on to kind of educate our young people that it's not you who you see. Look beyond your circumstance and know that had to be something that happened to your generation of your ancestors that will put you in a position that you're going to be the least of this, the least of that,
that's
But
true.
I am so appreciative of people like you and folks like all the young people who are trying now to get out here and do something, because that's what we need. That's what we
We
need.
need that
Yes.
too.
Terry, what
Thank
do
you
have to
so
do?
much.
Yeah, just two things that I want to thank you for coming on the program, and you spoke quite a bit about economic growth. Also, what the Committee on Transportation, what is that dealing with?
So that's dealing with the trains and the highways and the byways. And you see there's a lot going on with New Jersey Transit
Yes,
with the delays. It happens almost every summer, every single time it gets above a certain heat index.
That's right.
But I'm actually going to be introducing a bill soon that speaks to the issue of toll increases as well as train and bus fare increase. So stay tuned for that. I'm not ready to speak about it yet, but that's one of the bills I'm going to introduce on the Transportation Committee.
I'll look for that.
Uh-huh. Well, you looking for that? You told me, Brother Terry, King Terry, that you was foreseeing her as governor one of these
Well,
days. I foresee her as the second
Yeah, well, we were
female
speaking,
president.
and she was saying that you might be the next female president. But I was saying, I would think, just to make some steps, let's say, well, I can see you as governor, and then from governor until up to the president, But again, you're a bright light in our community, and you're a bright light in our future, and we want to encourage you. That's what we
Thank
do.
you.
Yes.
Thank you
yes.
so much. Thank you for that encouragement. Please keep me in prayer. This is not an easy industry.
Oh, no.
I'm just trying to live God's will for my life and do the work for the people, make my ancestors proud, make my family proud, make myself proud, and my community. So please, please, please keep me in
We
prayer, because
definitely will.
politics is not for the faint of heart.
Oh,
No,
no, it's
no,
not. I
it's
tell you,
not.
just to
No,
live
it's
is not for the faint. Under our circumstances, as I said to you before, I know it's going to take 3 entities to get us back to where we need to be. It's going to be that faith base, because we are believers. And if it had not been for the Lord on our side, where would we be? Where
That's
would
right.
we be?
Yeah.
And of course, as I said before, we're going to have to know who we are, from whence we come.
That's right.
We're going to have to know who we were when God put us on this earth,
That's right.
and what we did once He put us out there in Africa, over there in Africa,
That's right.
and to create all the societies that we did and civilizations. And then once we got
did.
taken from that, stolen from that, and across the Middle Passage,
That's
and
right.
hoisted up,
Captives, taken captive.
and hoisted up, hoisted up on those slave blocks, and sold to the highest bidder,
So sad.
and then being abused and naturally
It's
abused
terrible.
and
It's
stripped. So there's so much that our young people, got to learn to kind of get an understanding of what they're going through, what's happening with them. But it's a journey.
Yes, sir.
But with folks like yourself, young people who understand the situation, and can express it, and not just express it, but you're doing work.
That's right. The work.
You're doing work around trying to make us better, all of us, everybody.
That's right.
And that's what this, I think that's what this Vice President Harris will bring to us, not just for one person, but for the whole
Everybody.
human race.
I sure hope so.
Yes.
Yeah,
to
Yeah,
get
and I know
together.
so.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
so. I feel it in my bones.
Yeah.
Me too.
It's time for that, And again,
Yeah.
I just want to also tell the people who watch us every week, and we appreciate that. And all we ask you to do is just keep on watching, but also press that subscribe button, because that would make sure that you will not miss a program. And
Subscribe.
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 It's important.
And in addition to that, if you really appreciate us and think we should move forward with this kind of information, you can always support us. You can send us, because everything costs something.
Yeah,
So you can
something.
send us money, Ruby Shivers, is it dollar
Cash
sign for
App.
Cash App, Ruby Shivers, or Zelle, or the old-fashioned way, check, money, or whatever you want to do. But we'll appreciate anything you do. It's encouraging, too. It would encourage us to continue to bring folks on that we know will benefit our community.
Yes.
And that's the whole idea behind it. Now, Senator Brittany in Timberlake, do you have any passing message that you would like to leave with us?
For sure. Just remember to vote.
Yeah.
Remember, voting is about your self-interest.
Yeah.
And the things that you talked about today, the questions that you asked me, and the history of Black peoples, it is not within our interest to vote for Donald Trump. That is
You said it.
Make
that
it
is
plain.
a bunch of
Make it plain.
malarkey. You heard it here. It is not true. Okay, so
Yes.
get out there and vote for Kamala. And also to the people, I don't vote. I don't. It doesn't make a difference. You don't want to find out what a difference this vote is about to make, because I don't want to be under the leadership of a dictator. I'm too outspoken to be under the leadership of a dictator.
It'd be in jeopardy.
Yeah.
So save our democracy, and also
I tell
save
you,
my freedom of speech,
Yes, right,
all
right.
of our freedom of speech.
Save our sanity.
A month ago, I told everyone I was just so I don't know what was happening. I'd gotten looked at my passport, and it was in order. I looked at my bank account, it wasn't too much there. So I didn't know where I got to get from here to Africa, but I was,
Making plans.
making plans. So we are just thank all of you for watching
Thank
every
you.
time. And we are so appreciative of you, Senator.
God
We
bless.
just appreciate you, and you're doing great work. We want you to come back on again when you finish the bills that you say you have on.
Yes.
So we want you to come back and tell us about them. We appreciate
Thank you so much.
We
Thank
appreciate
you. God bless.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Take care.